Hello guys and welcome to this new video. So today we're going to be actually having a crash course about AI agents in n8n and how I use it in a daily basis to create my own AI flows in my AI agents. So let's start up. I'll be first of all giving a presentation about what is n8n and how it works in a global manner. So n8n, as you all know, is an open source workflow automation tool that enables you to automate tasks by connecting different services. So basically, you have actually, it always starts with a trigger and you should have your data, of course. And then later on, you can use that data to actually nourish an LLM to get a response, or to use data processor and transformer nodes. And then later on, you can actually take that data that is actually enhanced and put it in a database or use it on one of your apps, okay? So in a brief presentation, there are servers nodes and n8n nodes, and I will get back into that later on. But how I see nodes. So there are nodes that are triggers nodes, and that's how you start your workflow. So the trigger nodes, I also put the ones that I use the most. So you can see actually you don't have to know everything about n8n. You just have actually to know about these nodes and use them in a kind of daily basis so you can get the skills. And then later on, if you need any other nodes, you can use the other nodes based on your need. But that's what you need as a startup to actually get the skill and learn about n8n in the best manner, I would say, on the easiest manner. I'm also actually showcasing the services that I use personally. So you can see actually what I'm using. So as you can see here in the triggers, I mostly use 3 triggers or 4 triggers max. So those 2 are actually n8n nodes, and those are, which are the yellow circled, are the services nodes. So this node actually, I'm mostly using them, the first ones, I'm mostly using them for test, and I'm using the Telegram trigger node as a chatbot kind of way, so I can actually discuss with my flow. So then later on, you have data processor, transform filter data. So as you all know, n8n is a no-code platform, which actually helps you to kind of get easier grasp about how you can code. So of course, you will have a kind of concept of coding that you have to know. For example, you can use nodes that allows you to code, to put some code in them. That's why you have this code node. And this code node has 2 languages that you can use into, Python and JavaScript. This one is an if node, an if statement node, and this one is a loop node. And those 3 are the most ones that I use when I need them, okay? And then you have the LLMs, okay? And the AI agent. So basically, n8n didn't have this functionality at the start, but it had this functionality lately because of the AI agents. And the most, I would say, LLMs that I use, or the models that I use for the AI agent, or in general, if I want to summarize something, I use OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini. Those are the most ones that are used, but I would say I use OpenAI in certain cases, and Claude in certain cases. Claude is very good in writing plain text. It sounds more human than OpenAI. OpenAI has also very good features as multi-model. They are multi-model, of course, models. What it means, it can create text, images, or videos. For OpenAI, I mostly use it for creation of pictures, or if I want, for example, to use a very cheap model, I would use the OpenAI model to actually, for example, take care of the AI agent and kind of orchestrate my AI agent. Great. So for databases, so as I said, all the services that are surrounded by yellow are external services. What I mean by external services, they are not nodes that have been created by n8n. So they are actually other services. For example, Gmail, etc. You all know that those services are outside services, and you have nodes for them. So for databases, I mostly use Cloudinary and Supabase, and sometimes I use Google Sheets for testing. But Cloudinary is very powerful if you want to store media, for example, images or videos. And Supabase is when you want to actually put some text into a database so you can retrieve it later on. There are a lot of people that are in this space that are using Airtable. I don't use it personally because I don't find it very useful for me, but you can actually check it out. You have also Google Cloud Storage. I don't like to use this one because it has a lot of problem with connections with n8n. So I have to connect multiple times, and sometimes it breaks my flow, and I don't like to use it that much. So in Google Sheets, of course, this is the easiest way to actually put your data in somewhere. You can use Google Sheets. So for the apps, so the apps, you can use this actually deliver data asks. For example, here you can use apps at the end. There are nodes that are that you can use in the end of your flow, and there are apps that we call also tools, and tools are MCPs basically. And I will be getting into the presentation and explaining what are MCPs. And so those apps are nodes that are created by n8n, of course, but they are service nodes. That's why they are in yellow. Great, let's now move on. There is something very important, which is APIs, and for all beginners, they have a very, I would say, problem with this to understand it. So let me actually explain to you how APIs work. It's pretty simple. So APIs, as I said, they are external services, and those external services will open the door for you so you can use them. So for example, if you are sending a mail with Gmail, Gmail will open up the door in a way that you can use its services, okay? So that's why we actually have our data, for example, with our Gmail content, and we do an HTTP request. So that's how you actually request that service or that app, which is Gmail, to do that task for you, to send that Gmail, okay? And from there, you get a response with the data, with the HTTP response that tells you, okay, I've sent your data. And this is actually normalized, and it has been created a long time ago when internet has been actually created. So now let's move with MCPs. So it's very similar, an MCP, which stands for Model Call Context Protocol. And this actually thing has been created not a long time ago by Anthropic, and it simplifies the access to those HTTP requests. So what happens is, instead of you calling the HTTP request and having actually to get those norms in the correct manner, what you do is you talk to the LLM directly, and the LLM actually will directly handle those HTTP requests for you, and will actually get the answer and answer you in a plain manner or in plain English that actually it had created your task, for example, for the mail step. So these are two concepts that are very important, and they are the ones that you actually have to learn once, and then it will actually help you build your workflows. Okay, now actually we will move to my n8n platform. So my n8n is actually a platform that you can host yourself. So it's an open source, so you can get it by yourself and host it, for example, in your own laptop, or you can host it also in a hosting VM with Hostinger or any other services that are offering the hosting services. For my side, I prefer to use directly the cloud version, because I can actually, just for facilitates me for updates, and also for opening up, I would say, my webhooks and opening up the flows. So let's actually start. We will go through all the platform, and I will go through each kind of button here and explain everything to you guys. So first of all, here, what you will see when you get to your n8n platform, you will get your workflows. So if you want to create a workflow, you just click here and it will create your workflow, okay? So let me click here so you can see it. So here I created a new workflow. Here you can change the naming of your workflow, and you have two features. Either talk to an AI, this is one of the latest features about n8n. For example, you click on it, you have two ways to click on it. Here, for example, if you know already what you're trying to build, you just can actually talk in plain English and tell it, okay, I want a chatbot that do this and this and this, and it will help you to create your first version. It's of course not perfect, but it's a good first version to start with, and then later on you can debug it and try to make it work for your own use case. So now let's do a link between what I have actually explained and what the nodes and where you can find them. So the nodes, you just come here and you open up this plus button, and you have multiple nodes, a lot of nodes. I know it can be kind of frustrating at the start because there are a lot of nodes, but as I told you in the presentation, you can only use those nodes that I've showed you, and you will be fine, and you will be starting up, and you'll be mostly be able to do everything in n8n. So you have the trigger nodes I have explained. So this is the nodes that you can start with your own flow. So how to find them? You just come here. You can actually, for example, write here trigger, and you will find all the triggers that are possible. Okay. So you have the chat trigger, and the chat trigger, how it works. You come here and you can actually talk to the chat. The chat is here. So you can start, for example, your chat. Great. So this is how you do it. And this, I will show you just the Telegram trigger. So you can do Telegram, and you get to Telegram, and you can get the triggers that are here. Okay. And based on a message, for example, that's the trigger I use. So when I get actually a message in my bot in Telegram, it will be triggered. Okay. There are a lot of other manners to trigger your flow, but that's the way I do it on my side. Great. So this is how you start your flow, and then later on you can use other nodes. For example, you have the AI agent node, you have the HTTP node, and you have multiple nodes. For example, here I can create my AI agent, and you can see that there are the chat models. So that's the model that you'll be using for your AI agent that will actually be the mind of your AI agent, I would say. So you have a lot of models here. On my side, I use OpenRouter. What is OpenRouter? It's just I would say service that actually allows you to change up the models. Okay, so you can actually choose any model out there and use it directly with OpenRouter. Okay, it's a bit expensive, more expensive for a token based, but I think it's more suitable. It just facilitated for me to create to choose the model that I like, so I don't have actually to connect multiple nodes for the model. Okay. So you can actually add a memory. That's something I don't do normally. And you can choose your tools. So that's the thing that we talked about, which is the MCPs. Tool is basically an MCP connection. Okay. So you can use multiple MCPs. You have also MCPs that are already kind of existing, that are, I would say, service nodes, as I have explained in my presentation. and that you can use and that n8n has. Okay, so there are some kind of MCPs that are not available in this catalog. You can just come here and create MCP client tool, and you just have to configure it with your MCP that is, for example, not found in n8n catalog, and you can use your personal one also if you want. Great. So I'll be moving also with the HTTP. So what I said is, for example, here you can actually connect to a sheet, and this is a service node. So this is actually n8n has created this node, so you can connect directly with the Google Sheets without actually having to code it yourself. But sometimes it's not, there are nodes that are not existing. That's why we use the HTTP request. Okay, so we use the HTTP request, and there are principal manners and there are methods, but that's something that we can actually talk about later on in other videos. So this is how you create your flow. You just come here, you connect your flow, and that's it, guys. You just use, for example, the transformation nodes that we talked about. For example, you could call them transformation nodes. You have the edit fields. Yeah, you found them here actually, data transformation. For example, you can use the code, you can use the filter to filter your data. This is how you do it. And very important. So let's start with something and let's create a very simple node, okay? So let's start with an AI agent. That is an AI assistant, and we will link it, for example, to ChatGPT Gemini 5.0 Nano, and that's the cheapest model to date of ChatGPT. So for example, what I will do is I will erase that one, and I will be using a very simple flow, so you can actually see how it works. So you come here for the chat chat trigger. You come here, you can actually say hello, and that will allow you to do is you will talk to the AI agent. Actually, this node doesn't do it's just a configuration node. The most important one is this one, but this is the one that actually responds and give you the answer. And here you can see it also. You can see that I have sent hello, and I have an output, the model that isn't answering me. Okay, and that's it. You can see that the flow is already kind of created, and here you can configure more your AI agent. And that's the thing that I wanted actually to talk about, which are the inputs and the outputs. So in any flow, when you start your flow, you will have output and input. In the fact this is a trigger flow, you will have only an output. Okay, so in each flow you have what we call attributes that are your output, and when you get to your AI agent, you can actually find this as an input for your second node, and you can find an output that is the output of your AI agent. Okay, and very interesting also, what you can do is, for example, you can use an HTTP request here, but we will not actually do this. But this is a URL, okay? But this is just an example. What you can do, and what is great about this, you can actually drag and drop whatever thing you have in an input and an output, and you can have actually the value that you got from the previous nodes. So this is how you create your AI, I would say, your flows in general. And you can see that there is no limit here. There is just your imagination that will actually stop you from doing things. So you just start here and you create your first workflow, which is a very easy one. And then you move forward step by step until you create more, I would say, complicated flow. Just start always small and go step by step to get to what you want to do. So very important. This is a no-code tool. So what it means that you can actually do stuff like your coding, okay? So most of the aspects of coding, you will find them here. So here you can actually activate your flow. And what I mean by activating your flow is you open up this flow to web users, for example. But when I'm using this one is when I'm doing webhooks. So when I will be able actually to get, I would say, HTTP requests from outside. So that's why I use this. But if you're just using your n8n in n8n, you don't use to activate this. Here you can save, here you can share, for example, with your team. If you have a team in n8n, you can do it. You can share it via mail, you can share your workflow. Here, very important, this is the executions, okay? And this is very important because when you have an error, you will find it here, okay? In our case, we don't have an error, so it's okay. But it's very important, another feature, which is copy to editor. This is very good because it unpins what happened before. So you can actually see, you can actually get the access data that you had before, and you can actually run without actually going and triggering your flow again. So this is very great, and this is a very good feature. So you can actually see what problems you have in your flow when you have problems. So you go to executions.